This is Ryan Michael of quarterbackscore.webs.com talking with former Kansas City Chiefs and Atlanta Falcons wide receiver J.J. Birden. J.J., you were drafted by the Cleveland Browns in 1988. You tore your ACL prior to your rookie season, spent part of the '89 offseason with the Dallas Cowboys, but you didn't get your big break until 1990 with the Kansas City Chiefs. Tell me about that waiting process and how you feel it impacted your development as a receiver by the time you got to start your first game.
Yeah, great question, Warren. And first, I appreciate you having me on. It's a joy to be able to share my story. But yeah, it wasn't the most auspicious start. I go into mini camp with the Browns and I tear my ACL up, and the hidden disappointment was I was a track and field athlete at Oregon. I was a long jump Pac-10 champion. I was getting ready for nationals. I qualified for the Olympic trials for that summer. So my plan was to finish track, go to the trials, see if I could make the Olympics. If not, then go right into football.
Right.
And right in the middle of the track season, I get drafted, to my surprise, because I didn't think I would get drafted. And I go to rookie camp. I'm thinking, okay, this is no big deal. I do this stuff all the time. And I remember telling Bill Dillinger, the Oregon track coach, who told me not to do any drills. And I said, Bill, don't worry about it. I never get hurt at these things. Well, that was the wrong thing to say because I tore up my ACL. So definitely disappointed. There went track. But it's interesting because then I went through a whole different type of journey because I was a little, I guess you could say I lacked confidence in my ability to play in the NFL. I just had to envision the NFL to be just these massive athletes who were just, I just didn't think I belonged. But that first year, I was on IR in Cleveland. And that was kind of a blessing in disguise because I was able to sit and watch for a year. And my job was to get healthy. My job was to learn the game, and I really studied the game. And that was kind of that pivotal year when I realized that, wait a minute, I could actually play in the NFL. Now I just got to get healthy. And so the next year I get cut, and immediately I go to Dallas, and I stay on their practice squad the entire year with the hopes that I would I'd be activated at some point.
Right.
And every week, I tell you, Ryan, it was, especially towards the end of the season, I thought, okay, this is the week, and it never happened. And but I wasn't too frustrated because I knew my knee wasn't quite 100%. But after I finished that season, I was 100%. Now I go into year 3. I'm credited for 2 years. I haven't played in a regular season game, and I know it's the third year. That's that crucial year where if you don't make a team this year, then you're going to be forgotten.
Right.
So I carefully made the selection. I went to a couple different teams, and I selected the Chiefs because, one, Marty was there. Marty drafted me in Cleveland, so I felt he was going to give me a fair shot. 2, they weren't known for their speed, and I came in running 4.3, so I thought, okay, there's my competitive advantage, my speed and quickness. So let's see if it works out for us with KC. And it did. It was the right choice, and as you said, that's when my career finally started to take off.
Now, you played an important role in Joe Montana's resurgence with the Chiefs, and most fans are familiar with the success Joe had on the field in 1993, leading the Chiefs all the way to the AFC Championship game. But I'd like to ask you, since you were there from week 1 in the locker room and on the field, what was it like to see Joe undertake that comeback process, and what did you see on your end as a player that perhaps fans might not be aware of?
Yeah, that was a memorable experience. I mean, often, Ryan, I'm asked, what was one of the highlights of playing in the NFL? Well, I didn't go to the Super Bowl, so, the next thing I say is, well, playing with Joe Montana. I got to play with one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. And when Joe signed with us during that year, it took me some time to get used to the fact that, okay, I'm in the huddle with Joe Montana. I was in 8th grade watching him as one of the great ones, and now I'm his starting receiver. So there was a bit of a mind, a bit of adjustment that took place, but I quickly recognized that, hey, this is one of the greatest. Let's step up our game so that he doesn't feel disappointed that I'm one of his wide receivers. And it really made me, it made me focus more on my game, my preparation and execution. I can remember the very first practice with Joe. We were running, we ran X hook. It was the very first play, and I'm an X, and I'm thinking, okay, I get Joe's first pass. I run a 12-yard route, and right when I got to the top, he hit me in the back of the head with the ball. And I was like, hey, Joe, what's up? And he goes, come here for a second. Okay. He goes, I don't wait for you to get open. I've already looked at the defense. I know where the hole is. I throw it to an area and I expect you to get your head around faster.
Right.
And I tell you, Ryan, just that little tip changed my game at the top of the routes because I got quicker at the top of the routes. I got my head around faster, and I had to lock in on the ball faster because it was already in flight. And so it was little things like that that really, improved my game. And just, watching Joe, he was just a regular guy, down to earth, wasn't in for all the, the exposure and all the accolades. It was just a professional who genuinely enjoyed the game of football. And I really respected that because he was a guy that led by example. His preparation was unbelievable. For a guy who is involved in our offense, which we ran the same offense as the San Francisco 49ers, and I'd see Joe studying him all the time, studying the plays, and I'm like, Joe, don't you already know this stuff? And he's like, yeah, but I want to have that edge on the defense. I want to always be ahead of the defense. So he set a good example for us, and going into those last years, I mean, especially the year when we made the AFC Championship game, it was so nice to have someone like Joe leading us because you knew you were with someone who has been there, done that. So your confidence level was even higher knowing that you got this general, you got this leader that's leading us.
Now, if you could take me back for a moment to the 1993 AFC Championship game, you put up more receiving yardage than any of Buffalo's receivers. Jim Kelly didn't throw a single touchdown pass, and you only lost by 7 points, but Thurman Thomas carried the ball 33 times for 186 yards and rushed for 3 touchdowns. Do you ever sit back and wonder what could have been had Thomas not had one of the greatest games of his career?
Absolutely, because when we beat Pittsburgh, we came back, 2 weeks prior to that, and then we beat Houston in Houston, came back on them. We knew we were going to the Super Bowl. This is our year. We're going. We just got to get through Buffalo. And when we got to Buffalo, because Buffalo, I'll tell you, Ryan, I hated playing Buffalo because it was cold. They had great fans to support them.
Yeah.
But this time around, we didn't care how cold it was because we knew this was our year. And, just the way we started out. But I can recall it was a play where we were driving down the field. Montana throws to Kimball Anderson. Kimball Anderson has great hands. But on this play, he dropped it in the end zone.
Yeah.
And because of that, the next play, Joe Montana gets knocked out, by the 2 defensive linemen. I think it was Bruce and Talley, I think. I'm not sure. But they sandwiched him. He gets a concussion. He's out. And that was kind of the moment where you don't want to say it as a pro, but it did kind of take a little, a little air out of us, out of our confidence. We didn't have our leader, and you just didn't see the same spark in everybody's eye, and it's so I often reflect like, man, what if Kimball had caught that ball? We're leading 14-7 or something like that. It could have been a totally different outcome.
If you, JJ, were to choose one game from your 9-year NFL career that you feel best represents the type of player you were, which one would it be and why?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question. I think I'm going to have to go to the first game I played in, or actually the second game in 1990 when we were playing against the Seattle Seahawks. And I had a lot of exciting games, a lot of exciting catches, and just really, throughout my career. But I think that was the moment where, I felt I had arrived because it's year 3. I finally get off, I don't know if you know this, but that year with KC, they cut me. And then Marty says, we're going to bring you back a couple weeks later. So there were 2 weeks I was sitting at home twirling my thumbs when all these teams were calling, but I promised Marty I would wait 2 weeks. Well, then Marty brought me back like he said, and then we go and we play in Seattle, and this is I live in Portland, so my entire family's there. And that game, I scored my very first touchdown. But it was so memorable because I felt, I finally arrived. I finally made it. Made it after this long, long journey of all these obstacles, of all the people that told me I was too small, 5'10", 157 pounds, you don't belong in the NFL. But I finally put the exclamation mark on it that I belong in the NFL.
Right. And, since the end of your playing career, you've made a successful transition into the business world, and you're now known for your work as an opportunity trainer. For my listeners, can you explain exactly what it is you do and where they can look to get more information?
Absolutely. I'm one of those professional athletes who was always planning for life after football. I didn't really expect to play in the NFL, so when I got there, I felt it as a privilege, and I took every day very, very seriously. Then I played 9 years, but I made the transition into the business world. But the last, 8 years, I really focused on, helping people improve the quality of their lives, whether it's through mentally or physically or financially. But I become an opportunity trainer because I feel that I epitomize, of someone who's maximized their opportunities, who's taken advantage of their opportunities in life. And so if I can train or teach or just inspire people with some simple principles to help them maximize their opportunities, then I feel that I've done my job, because no matter who we are, where we come from, we all have opportunities in life. The question is, do we seize them and do we take advantage of them? So I just released my first book, which is called When Opportunity Knocks, 8 Surefire Ways to Take Advantage. And it has 8 principles that I share with whoever. Doesn't matter who you are, what your goals are, but I think these principles can help people maximize those opportunities. So my website is www.jjburden.com, and I'd love to connect with the fans. I'd love to connect with the people, and whatever I could do to help them, I'm always willing to give them that guidance.
And again, for my listeners, I encourage you, the website is www.jjburden.com. And if you'd like to follow JJ on Twitter, you can find him at JJBurden. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can find me at TheRyanMichael. JJ, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate you, and keep up the good work.
Will do, sir.